Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, I got our biggest winners and losers moving forward after the Raiders' big 30-6 win over the New York Giants. But I don't want to just look at winners and losers from this Week 9 game. No, I want to look at it from more of a sense of which players do I think are going to benefit from this moment going forward with Antonio Pierce. And then obviously some of the losers are going to be players that were, probably more of this whole Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler regime. But man, I'll tell you this, if you feel like that game yesterday, you feel like a winner after the Raiders' big-time game, I want you to hit that subscribe button. I feel super elated, super happy. Like, this is how you're supposed to feel walking to work on a Monday. You got a big old smile. I slept like a freaking baby. I wasn't worried about what this Raiders team is going to do. I'm excited because this weekend I'm going to be out in Las Vegas. So if anybody's going to be there Friday or Saturday, hit me up. Let's grab some beers. Let's grab some food. I'm going to be out there with my dad. I could not be happier. Antonio Pierce makes me want to run through a freaking wall. And if you feel the same way, click that subscribe button. So what I figured I would do here is I'm going to start with the winners, and then I'm going to go to the losers, but I'm going to rank all these players based on how big of a winner I think that they are. Coming in here at number 10, it's Michael Mayer, the tight end. And when you look at overall snaps, Mayer played a shit ton of snaps yesterday. In terms of the game offensively, there were 60 total snaps that could be played on the offensive side of the football. Mayer was in 53 of them, I want to say, or 49. Those two numbers are right now popping in my head. But the bottom line is they used him a lot. And one of the areas that Mayer really struggled in early on was his ability to go out there and block. And one of the things that I've said on the show multiple times is when you have a young rookie tight end, sometimes it takes them a little bit of time to get acclimated to the NFL. And Mayer has made leaps and bounds strides at getting better as a blocker. On top of that, I actually thought that Hardegree did a solid job of using both Austin Hooper, Mayer. They spread the ball out very, very effectively. And at the press game conference today, or I guess today's conference, Antonio Pierce called Michael Mayer a tough SOB. If you don't know what it means, Google it. And he wants the rest of the team to be a bunch of tough SOBs. The team takes on the identity of the head coach, and we need a bunch of SOBs in that locker room. Let's go to number 9 here. I got Hardegree, your interim offensive coordinator. I mean, this is his first real shot at getting the opportunity to call plays, and the stock is high, considering the fact that he's now going to be taking over for Josh McDaniels, who has gotten 2 head coaching positions. It's considered an offensive guru, and Hardegree's offense looks a lot better than Josh McDaniels. So if I'm I got to take advantage of this opportunity because I don't know if I'm ever going to get another one to call plays. And if he goes out there, balls out with this team, Raiders look sharp on offense, there's going to be a team that goes, oh, wow. If Hardegree looks this much better than Josh McDaniels, maybe we should try to go out and hire this guy. And I get it. The Raiders' offense didn't put up tons and tons of numbers, but to me, I'm a big eye test guy. And you watch that game against the Giants, from the moment that game began, the Raiders were in control, which I don't know if we could say at any point that Josh McDaniels was the head coach. Let's go to number 8 here, and I'm going to just chalk this one up to all the Raiders wide receivers. I know that Davante Adams didn't have a big game on the stat sheet. I know that Hunter Renfrow did not have a big game on the stat sheet. Jacoby Myers didn't have a big game on the stat sheet. Trey Tucker, 2 catches, 52 yards, had a long of 50. But here's the thing. You got a brand new coach now. You got a brand new quarterback in Aidan O'Connell who can actually throw the football. And the offense that the Raiders showed, I was kind of in love with it because you couldn't stop them. They were throwing to whoever was open to pick up all the first downs, and you could tell that the Raiders receivers were happy. And if you don't want to take my word for it, think about what Davante Adams said. Davante, after the game, was asked, how you feeling, even though you didn't have that big of a game. He was like, of course I want to put up numbers, but I'm not upset because of the product on the field is what the product on the field was supposed to be. Davante was so dang ticked off after the Raiders win against the Patriots because he's not an idiot. He looked at that offense and was like, sure, we were able to win, but our offense played like crap. So now the receivers, everybody looked a lot better. Everybody looked a lot more motivated, and I really truly believe that the receivers in general were big-time winners. Coming in here at number 7, the Raiders' offensive line. I talked to one of the Raiders' offensive linemen right after the game, and He was like, spirits are super high in the locker room right now. And go figure, it's the best offensive line game that we've seen from the Silver and Black this season when you put Jimmy Garoppolo on the bench. The reason is because teams couldn't stack the box anymore. And when you don't have the ability to stack the box, that's going to open up the running game. Go figure, Josh Jacobs has a good game. Aidan O'Connell has a clean pocket to throw for the most of the part. And, you got to give your flowers to your tackles. You got to give your flowers to your interior guard play. I thought Andre James had himself a hell of a game. The offensive line is clearly a winner. Let's go to number 6 here on my list. It's Robert Spillane. Robert Spillane is the best Raiders linebacker on this team, and it's not close. In fact, I think Robert Spillane's the best linebacker that the Raiders have had, in quite some time. To me, Spillane is better than Denzel Perriman, ever was with the Raiders. He's better than anything Nicholas Morrow did a few years ago. Like, off the top of my head, right now, what Spillane has been able to do in the coverage game, from the leader standpoint, wearing the green dot, and now that you got Antonio Pierce, who was the former linebackers coach, leading this charge, I mean, to me, Robert Spillane is one of the biggest winners on the defensive side of the football, and the fact that the Raiders have him for another season, I'm really, really excited to see what Spillane is going to be able to do for the remainder of this season. I'm also really excited to see what Spillane's going to look like going forward, because to me, and, you can throw all the tomatoes that you want at me because I deserve them. I wasn't excited when the Raiders signed Spillane. And Spillane is proving me wrong on Madden, and he's proving me wrong in real life, which makes me a very happy camper. Before I reveal my top 5 winners, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to do my top 5 losers, and then at the very, very end of the show, I'm going to get into my top 5 winners. So that's going to be coming up here on the Raiders Report. But if you don't already know about our awesome sponsor, Game Time, I want you to listen up, because if you use promo code RaidersChat, you're going to be able to get $20 off. So what I want you guys to do is take a second here and download the Game Time app, because anybody that's planning on going out to Las Vegas, I'm planning on going to Las Vegas this weekend, hang out with my dad, and I can't freaking wait. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not going to go to the Raiders game itself. You guys obviously can, and I was actually taking some pictures recently of some Raiders games where you could go out there and see, some different events that you could do and some different, comedy theater, all that kind of good stuff. But one of the things I was looking at was the Sphere. I've been looking to go to the Sphere. My dad for a long time is like, Mitch, is there any cool things that we could go do? The Blue Man Group has been something that's been on my bucket list actually for quite some time. I don't know if I'll do that without Alex. I feel like she'll kill me. But basically with the Game Time app, you can go out to Las Vegas, not have any plans. You could be sitting there on a Friday night and like, all right, let's look to see what we can do. We can find cheap tickets. That's where Game Time really can step it up. So, Nation, what I want you guys to do right now is download the Game Time app, $20 off with code RaidersChat. I promise you it's going to be an app that you use all the time, not just for Raiders tickets. And for people right now with the NBA right around the corner, you can use it for that. I know a bunch of my buddies, that's the app that we were using down here in Dallas, Texas, when we were looking for Rangers World Series tickets, and I was kind of hoping to get to go to Game 6, but unfortunately, that didn't happen. Also, though, you can see the Las Vegas Raiders tickets, and one of the things that I love that Game Time does, they have this feature, it's called the all-in price, which, for me, when you go look at tickets, right, think about this, you're looking at tickets, and you just see, like, what the price is, and then after all these fees and taxes, you're like, how did it get to this much? The feature that I like that Game Time does is they have an all-in, what is it? The all-inclusive price or something like that. So you click on that button, and then it shows you how much the tickets are after all the taxes, all the fees, so there's no surprises, which is one of the reasons why I think Game Time is as successful as what it truly is. So one more time, y'all, it's going to be down in the comments, down in the description. Download the Game Time app. Use code RaidersChat for $20 off. All right, y'all, coming up here now, some Raiders losers after the Giants game, and I wanted to keep today's show happy. Part of my job here is to, be able to read between the lines, and even though the Raiders won, there are losers because there are certain guys that are McDaniels guys. So for me, number 5 coming up here on the show is Jakorian Bennett. And one of the things that Bennett has to realize, I also thought about putting Byron Young on here, is, Bennett is a McDaniels and Ziegler draft pick. Whoever comes in next season isn't, they're not tied to Bennett. And for how bad Jakorian has played this season, I'd get a little bit worried because he's a liability. He's not better than Amik Robertson. He's not better than Tyler Hall. He's not better than Probably almost about every single corner on that team. I mean, to me, you go back and you look, and I get it. You're going to keep a rookie, but the fact that we could have had a player on this team like a Duke Shelley, could have used him. I mean, you got to figure out a way to get it together, because I don't think that they would end up cutting him next year. But people also said I was crazy when I predicted Matthew Butler wasn't going to make this team. But guess what? If you can't get it done on the field and you bring in a new coaching regime, even if you keep Antonio Pierce, they're not tied to Bennett. And Bennett right now is a liability. Let's go to number 4 on this list. It's Brandon Bolden. I mean, if you want to write a book about how to make an NFL roster and contribute absolutely nothing, somebody needs to go interview Brandon Bolden, because I get the fact that he's playing special teams. This guy's making over $2 million this season. He's the worst running back on this roster, and it's not close. I don't know what he offers to this team besides being a leader for Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, but now that those two are out, Brandon Bolden clearly is a big-time loser since McDaniels got fired. Let's go to number 3, and you're going to see a trend here. Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer was signed to be the backup quarterback to Jim Garoppolo to be able to teach Josh McDaniels his system, and because he was signed to that 2-year deal, this is going to be another player that at the end of the season, they're going to cut him. There's no way he's going to be coming back to this team. I'm sure Hoyer is a great guy. I'm sure he is. He sucks in terms of being an NFL quarterback. He's not even top 50. He's not even top 60. The only quarterback that Brian Hoyer might be better than is Tommy Danny DeVito. Let's go to number 2 here. It's Jimmy Garoppolo. Got to be another big-time loser. I mean, Aidan O'Connell's the starting quarterback from here on out. Sure, can you really be a loser when you're making the amount of money that Jimmy G is making? Some people might argue that. But to me, Garoppolo doesn't want to be on the bench. He wants to be the starting quarterback. Here's the problem. Jimmy G is the worst arm in the NFL, and I don't know if that's all that close. Now you got Raiders players sticking up for Aidan O'Connell. I mean, as soon as they moved on from Josh McDaniels, it was a very easy choice, because anybody with a set of eyes can see that Garoppolo is as washed as it comes, and now that he doesn't have his guy and McDaniels there to support him, Jimmy G, I don't think he ever sees the field again as a starting quarterback. I can't imagine he does anyway. And then number 1, not even on the team anymore, it is. I mean, it's got to be Josh McDaniels, and I'll keep this one short. When you think about how bad this Raiders offense has been, when you think about how just disgraceful and all the things, unfortunately, that the Raiders accomplished with McDaniels in a short amount of time that are embarrassing, and then to go out there and play the game the way that they did, to come out and just go guns a-blazing with your offense, the fact that you hired an offensive-minded guru and spent top 5 money in terms of the overall offense going into the season, you had 12 draft picks, it was an absolute disaster. And when you go back and you look at how bad Gruden and the Mayock were, and now you're looking at how bad, Ziegler, I almost feel bad for Ziegler and McDaniels were, I don't know if you could have picked 2 worst head coach GM candidates overall. I really don't know. And I said this on social media, and I know some people laughed at me because they're like, Mitch, the Raiders are never going to entertain the idea of talking to a Raiders YouTuber. Okay, they should. Anybody that's watched this show for the last 3-4 years can tell you that this show has done a lot better job at being able to predict what the Raiders should and should not do. And I'm going to tell you all this right now. We got Josh McDaniels fired. My next thing I'm going to go for is I want to at least be in the conversation of who the Raiders decide to hire at head coach and general manager. And my promise to the nation is this: I won't do it alone. I'll have Jeremy Chuggs, my Chat Sports team, and the entire nation. I want our voice to be heard because I don't want to deal with another Gruden and Mayock fiasco. I don't want to deal with another McDaniels and Ziegler fiasco. So if you guys are down to get me a part of this so our voice can be heard, I'm going for it. I want to be a part of the hiring discussion going into this offseason. Coming up next here on the Raiders Report, more winners here after the Giants game. So I already gave you my 10 through 6, and now I got my top 5 biggest winners going forward here with Antonio Pierce. But before I give you my top 5, who do you think is the biggest winner after the Raiders win over the Giants? Is it Antonio Pierce? Is it Aidan O'Connell? Is it some other player that I've already mentioned? I want to know who you believe is the biggest winner after the Raiders win over the Giants moving forward from here on out. Let's go to number 5 on my list. It's going to be Maxx Crosby. And Crosby had 3 sacks. He looked unbelievable. But to me, it almost looked like Crosby got a little bit of help this past week. And again, the Giants' offense is the worst offense in the NFL. So I'm not trying to get too crazy. I don't expect 8 sacks every single week. But even the defense was flying all over the football field. And now that you got a head coach in Antonio Pierce who wants all players to be like Maxx Crosby, Antonio Pierce is trying to match Mad Max's energy. So you add those two together, and then if more players start trying to match Max's energy, man, I'm struggling saying that, then I do think that that's going to help out Crosby in the long run. Mark Davis apologized to Crosby, Davante Adams, and some other leaders on this team, basically saying, hey, man, I'm sorry I've been wasting your time with McDaniels. I'm sorry I've been wasting your time in general. It's going to get better from here on out. That's got to make Max a very happy dude. Number 4 here on the list, it's Josh Jacobs. And I hate being the I told you so guy, but to me, I feel like I have to be the I told you so guy because it was so damn obvious why Jacobs couldn't get his running game going. It's because teams were stacking the box because nobody respected Josh McDaniels. Nobody respected Jimmy Garoppolo. And sure, he still averaged only 3.8 yards per carry, but in the first half of that game, dude was churning yards left and right. And then at the end, the Giants started to stack the box. The Raiders went a little bit more vanilla because they knew they had the game locked and they were going to get a win. But watching that game, that was the running back that the Raiders paid for in Jacobs. Clearly a winner, better stats ahead. Hopefully if you had Fantasy Football League and somebody out there was willing to trade Jacobs, hopefully you did it last week. Hopefully you listened to the show because he was my number 1 buy low option. Number 3 here, it's Aidan O'Connell at quarterback. It's not too often when you're a 4th-round rookie do you get an opportunity to start in the National Football League. Not only are you starting, but you're in a really big spot right now. You're taking over for Jimmy G, a very well-known QB. You're taking over for Josh McDaniels, this brand-new offense, another interim head coach. Aidan has a real shot here to cement himself for a long NFL career. And the reason why I say that is this. If he goes out there and he balls out for the rest of the season, it's going to be a tough decision. Do we stick with Aidan or do we decide to go with a new quarterback in the draft next year? But on top of that, if Aidan's able to play really well these final 8 games, he could have a 10-year career as a backup. And, I kind of laugh at Brian Hoyer, but Brian Hoyer has been in the NFL for 15 years. That is millions upon millions of dollars, life-changing money. And Aidan has a great opportunity that simply not a lot of players get, and especially not a lot of players with this much talent around him. Coming in here at number 2, it's Antonio Pierce at head coach. If Antonio Pierce gets this team to the playoffs, he's your head coach. He's also the first time in a long time that I have a head coach on the Raiders that it's a guy that I want. He's a Raider through and through. Dude screaming Raiders from Compton. This guy bleeds silver and black. He is everything that I think a Raider embodies. The reason why Maxx Crosby is my favorite player, that's what a Raider is supposed to be. The reason why people love Davante Adams, that's what a Raider is supposed to be. The reason why people love Antonio Pierce is because when he talks, people listen. And when he's talking right now, makes me want to run through a brick wall. Antonio Pierce is my head coach right now, and at number 2, the second biggest winner. But, drum roll please, the biggest winner. I see some people saying Mark Davis. It's a good guess. It's not. The biggest winner is the nation. For being able to stick through all the bullshit, all the Josh McDaniels upside down, go around roller coaster ride that we were on. With the John Gruden fiasco, with Mike Mayock's terrible draft picks. I mean, this has been a shit show for a long time. I mean, it's not just the last 5 years, 20 years. Antonio Pierce is the 12th head coach in the last 20 years for the Silver and Black. But yesterday's game against the Giants made a lot of people, and now I always wear my Raider stuff, but the amount of smiles that I saw, the amount of people saying, hey, I'm going to go to Raiders games again. Hey, I'm going to put on my Raiders gear again. I'm going to rock the shield. I'm going to rock the silver and black. To me, better days are ahead because win, lose, or tie, you already made the right choice in moving on from Josh McDaniels. So because of that, Raider Nation is easily the biggest winner after that Giants game. For the remaining schedule, here on the Raiders Report, if you're not subscribed, make sure you are. We will be live tomorrow on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Then I'm going to be live again on Thursday for a little Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears football. I mean, I don't know. That's going to be grandma getting out of the tub ugly to watch. But you know what? We're going to watch it. Just saying that out loud sounds weird. Then we're going to be live Sunday for Sunday Night Football, Raiders, Jets. It's going to be one hell of a time, so if you're wondering when we will be live this week, take a screenshot, as we always go live Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and when the Raiders play. All right, y'all, quick recap here again on my biggest losers after this Giants game. Jakorian Bennett, and then we're just going to call the Raiders Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler disciples. And then for the winners, because that's where we should concentrate on, Michael Mayer, Bo Hardegree, all the receivers, the entire offensive line. Robert Spillane's about to go to this next step, I think, even with Antonio Pierce. Mad Max, Josh Jacobs, Aidan O'Connell, Antonio Pierce, and then at number 1, and I mean this, it's not close, the nation is the biggest winner moving forward with Antonio Pierce after the Giants game and after Mark Davis finally smartened up and decided to move on from Josh McDaniels.